All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. NASCAR Cup Series practice and qualifying just beginning here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway for this weekend's Mobil 1 301 and the round of 12 opener for the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Truck Series racing wrapped up not that long ago, only about 20 minutes ago. A very short break between streams, and I'm surprised that the Cup Series practice session is getting on at its normal start time with how late the Truck Series ran with the numerous cautions in that event. Congratulations again to Corey Heim for getting the race win. We'll have some playoff talk to obviously go over once we do get into the second group of practice here. Before the first group of practice, we've got some NASCAR Cup Series drivers on the racetrack. 36 entries this weekend, so we'll have 18 in Group A, 18 in Group B for practice, and then one single round of qualifying as we've seen on all the non-super speedway ovals this season. Cars on the racetrack right now would include Daniel Suarez, Austin Dillon, Cole Custer, Eric Jones, Justin Haley, Riley Herbst, Michael McDowell, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., AJ Allmendinger, Ty Dillon, Noah Gragson, Josh Berry, Todd Gillen, Cody Ware, and Shane Van Gisbergen. Alex Bowman, Ryan Preece, I believe, are also in this group. And there's one other car. There's three of them that have not made a lap yet. Only 15 of the 18 for Group 1 have made a lap. And all 12 playoff drivers will be in Group 2, just like we saw through the round of 16 with all 16 of those drivers in Group 2. They try to keep them on the track at the same time. So again, we'll cover the points a little bit later in the stream. For now, let you listen into the True TV broadcast booth with Marty Snyder, Jeff Burton, and Steve Letarte.
Place where maybe they do get some things turned around here. Josh finished third here last year. Was driving for Stewart Haas Racing, but Jeff, I think it was actually you that mentioned that he was able to study Kevin Harvick's data, who was so good here, who was in that Ford car for SHR before Josh took that over last year. Plus, this year he's got the improvements from Team Penske that they learned from the test that Joey Logano did here earlier this summer. Which, if you speak to anybody in the Team Penske camp this morning, as I did, they feel pretty positive about what they learned at that test. So I think there's some signs of optimism, some reasons to be optimistic for this 21 team this weekend. Josh knows his way around here, and I think the Penske cars feel pretty good here before we've even been on track.
Yeah, all of the talk after that test was that Penske cars were just way better than everybody else. And right now, though, Josh Berry is 10th fastest in this group. So the fire off speed, not what you would hope for, but with this tire, it's a different tire. We're not really sure what's going to happen. There appears to be a lot of fall off speed with it. That's what they're hoping for anyway. Right now, that 21 just does not have fire off speed at 10th fastest.
See, how about SVG? Shane Van Gisbergen out of the playoffs after the round of 16 wrapped up at Bristol last Saturday night. Doesn't have anything to hang his head about, but he was very vocal, upset with himself about how he approached the round of 16. Didn't get the results he expected to. What was your take on their round of 16?
I have to agree. I think that, it was going to be an outside challenge for the 88 to advance, but we didn't get the best version of the SVG and the 88 team. If you look at the weeks before, he was 16th at Daytona before the playoffs, 14th at Richmond, of course, won the road courses, but then we get into the playoffs. 32nd at Darlington, I think, was what we really got him set off on the wrong foot. So many teams had issues at Darlington. If he could have just ended up somewhere inside the top 20 Mamba, I think the 88 might have had some momentum, but that cold start of Darlington kind of continued through Gateway and Bristol, but a great year with multiple wins.
Yeah, you guys said it. SVG was really frustrated. Big bounce in the playoffs in the first round, but he's optimistic. He's got Steve team had a lot of success with Kevin Harvick and Rodney Show's here at Hampshire Motor Speedway. And SVG has really clicked over into a new mindset, which is we need to help the one get as far ahead in this playoffs as we can. So he's really here to help that Trackhouse team if they can.
And that's really, that's the next step. SPG does this a lot because I think he continues to kind of move, to target at the road courses for the entire garage, including his own team. And now it's just what can he do for good, solid feedback and laps on track. And remember, Jeff, he's behind the learning curve of all of these guys. So every single week, it's just another opportunity for him to make laps with so little testing. All these laps help.
The biggest thing that he can do to help his teammate is think long term and just become better at this type of racetrack. Because when you're the guy that's learning and you're the guy that can't really provide a lot of feedback, that kind of hurts the team move in a forward direction. So that's the way to help. It's just becoming a more competitive team, a more competitive driver on more racetracks. Because I can promise you that he has helped this team on road courses. He's made every one of those drivers and their cars better. Now, right now, he's taken from them on this type of course. Ultimately, he's got to be able to get back here.
Jeff, how about Austin Dillon? I mean, you know, the one that jumps out to me in the round of 16 for this team was really St. Louis. I kind of thought they would go there after winning Richmond. Very similar racetrack, different tire and aero package and all that. I really thought they would be strong at St. Louis. They just didn't have it really in any of the races in the round of 16.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're just behind for whatever reason. Neither car, has consistently had the speed that they want to have. I've talked to Richard Childress a lot about it. He is continuing to make changes. He is committed to getting the speed in these race cars that he needs to have. So, I think every one of them would admit they're a little bit behind, and they're not going to quit. They're working. They're pushing hard to be better. But it's just a hard time of year. You just don't flip the switch and all of a sudden get better normally. Sometimes that happens, but they're going to need a strong end of the year and a strong off season to get themselves where they need to be going into next year.
We chatted about Josh Berry a little while ago, Steve. It's a game of inches here at New Hampshire, isn't it?
Yeah, you see right there, it started to step out. A little bit of a front overcorrection is what that looks out, which kind of, no real harm or issue to the race car, but he just didn't have the extra maybe 8 or 10 inches he needs. Stays on the racetrack.
That's pretty wild, isn't it? Yeah, there was a time you hit the wall like that. You're coming down pit road hoping, oh my gosh, I didn't hurt anything.
Not in this car.
Yeah, just keep on digging.
Yeah, unless you hit the wheel very hard, it doesn't really bend a lot of stuff. You see me and Kyle Busch.
Certainly had his success over the years here with 12 total New Hampshire wins and all 3 series, Steve.
Yeah, but look at the season. 2 top 5s, only 8 top 10s. I look down at just laps led, right? So let's talk about laps led. It's a real easy list. 1 at Kansas back in May. 3 at Talladega back in April. We're talking laps led. I mean, this team is just so far down from what we would expect. And remember, Austin Dillon was unbelievable at Richmond. So while I know RCR doesn't have the equipment they want, there has been some glimmering spots, but they haven't been able to connect it for the driver of the 80.
I believe it's 14 straight races, the longest stretch of his career for Kyle Busch that he's not led a lap. So, yeah, certainly not been the season that the 8 team expected, Mama.
Yeah, I chatted with the man leading this charge, Randall Burnett, a little bit before practice. I said, what is the hardest part about getting around New Hampshire Motor Speedway? And he was telling me being too tight across the center, and then you really got to be able to manage the bumps and the seams. He said that this place is the most important for your shock package. Jeff, how important is it? The bumps over in 3, since I've been coming as a kid, have just gotten worse and worse.
The problem with the bumps in 3, Bob, is that it's at a heavy braking zone. It's just right after you lift off the gas and you're trying to get the car set into the racetrack to get the car positioned where it needs to be to get into the corner and roll the middle of the corner. And these bumps really upset the race car. It's right in the, kind of the worst spot it could be in on corner entry. You can see how rough it is. And it's a challenge. It's a real challenge, too. You'll see people lock the left front tire up over here on the low air pressure. It's, wouldn't surprise me qualifying when somebody's really trying to rip a flat, carry a little bit too much brake and drag the left front.
It seems like those bumps get worse every year here in New Hampshire. The Cup car is really testing it out today. Just getting going here from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Group A on the track. Back with more practice here on True TV in a moment.
I'm fighting the urge to not sneeze right now. If you were a part of the Craftsman Truck Series live commentary stream, my allergies have been kicking my tail today. But needless to say, we are still alive and kicking. AJ Allmendinger fastest in practice so far, about halfway through Group 1. Ryan Preece second, Riley Herbst third, Cole Custer fourth, and Michael McDowell fifth. That's fastest overall times. We've had several drivers already run 20-plus consecutive laps in this session. Daniel Suarez is currently 6th, and Justin Haley 7th, Austin Dillon 8th, Eric Jones 9th, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. rounding out our top 10. Josh Berry in 11th, Noah Gragson 12th, Jonathan Nemechek 13th, Shane Van Gisbergen 14th, and Ty Dillon 15th. 16th for Kyle Busch, Ty Dillon 17th, and Cody Ware 18th of the 18 cars in this group. 22 consecutive laps ran for some of the most of McDowell, Suarez, 21 for Custer, counting Stenhouse, Berry, and Gregson as well. Riley Herbst up there with the number of laps ran. Only 12 for AJ before he pulled off the racetrack. Had a strong start at Bristol, qualified on the pole last weekend, was one of the first to have his tires kind of fall off in that early beginning portion of the race that really set him behind going forward. I think he got in a wreck later in the night as well, but yep, looking to see how this is going to go. So far, again, all non-playoff drivers on the track for Group 1 of practice. We'll take our first break here. You're listening live on KRC. Cup Series practice and qualifying continues at New Hampshire. Qualifying will be on this stream soon on the other side. Shout out to those of you watching. Wade, Dean, Tate, Bam Hall. You guys are the first in the chat down below. Should rest. Yeah, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. That probably doesn't help because my allergies were pretty bad in the morning yesterday, and then they cleared up throughout the day. I was at SmackDown late last night. I didn't get back here. Well, I didn't really get to bed until like 2 o'clock in the morning. So up at 2, and I had to get up at like 7:30. So it's that might be factoring in a little bit too. Just fatigue setting in. I'll sleep like a baby tonight though, and I should be perfectly fine for the Cup race tomorrow. Hopefully allergies pending.
Out there probably pushing harder than most and had tire problems, so that set them. Definitely, this team feels to me to be heading in the right direction. Good speed, putting races together. You got to feel good about where they are.
Wonder how it feels about his race car right now, Steve. Went out, ran 10 laps, came back into pit road, and then went back out after that.
Yeah, reading on the radio, it seems like lots of traffic. And he just didn't want to mess with the traffic. It's just two schools of thought. Some guys want to drive behind cars. He wanted to come in and make a change to the end, so kind of looking and say it really becomes hard to compare him to anyone else. You know, when you don't run a long run like everyone else is running. Chasing it a little bit for sure. A lot of wheel movement on exit. You see even right there, a little bit dark.
How about Ryan Preece, man? What a close to the regular season it was for that race team. So close to making the playoffs, Jeff. But man, really since the playoffs have started and kind of maybe the last race or so of the regular season, just not what the 60 team has wanted over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's evolution of a team, right? Just think about it. Crew Chief Derek Finley, Ryan Preece put this team together going into this year, and they've done pretty well. I mean, they really have. In my opinion, they what they have done a really good job of is a lot of times the unload is not very good, but by the time the end of the race pops up, there they are. They made their car better. Ryan's gotten more comfortable, and he certainly will be a crowd favorite this weekend.
Yes, he will.
Connecticut, and he's run a lot of modified races here, and he is extremely popular up here, Mamba.
I promise you guys, there will be nobody that gets more cheers this weekend than Ryan Preece. He's finished second here, and for a New England kid, this place means everything to us. You know, the region, there's so many different states, so many different people that come here for this race. I grew up here at the top of the 51st row. My dad had season tickets. So for Ryan Preece to run well here, this has got to be one of the last things on his bucket list is for this season is to win right here. I know, Steve, when you came here for the first time, I know that just made your heart.
I came for the dual 125s back in, it had to be the mid, probably early 90, maybe even earlier than that. And Mike McLaughlin, Magic Shoes, Mike McLaughlin won the modified and the Busch North race, both in the same day. That was my, I came to this racetrack before it was what it looks like currently. I've also watched the Superbikes run on the road course here. And this is the Becca. When you pull in here, for the kids looking at Saturday night short tracks around New England, this is bigger and faster than anything you can imagine.
You told us it was like your Daytona 500.
Oh, it was.
Here at New Hampshire.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. Even before the Cup guys came to town, and then when the Cup guys added this to the schedule, that just solidified what we already knew, which was this was a premier racing venue.
That, that reminded me of the old Cardinal 500. You and I used to go to it as kids at Martinsville Speedway, Jeff, right?
That's right. Modifieds and model sportsman doubleheader. Got sunscreen many days, got sunburned many days up there.
Right.
Like I think my dermatologist today appreciates that.
Yeah, of course, right.
So I said earlier in this practice right off the start that the 21 car did not have very good takeoff speed. He's sitting there 11th fastest. But the rest of the story says that long run speed in this group, I think he is in a class by himself. I don't see anyone with this many laps on their tires that can run the pace that this 21 car is making.
That tells me the Penske cars are going to be quick too.
Impressive story there, Paul Harvey. Well, it is very nice.
Well, the other part of that is, we wondered what this tire would do over the long run, and I will tell you from lap 15 to lap 31, it's run the exact same time. It hasn't moved at all, so I'm waiting to see if there's a secondary fall off. I assume there's going to be. That's what we've seen at Richmond and Martinsville, some other places we ran this style of tire, but Josh Berry's out just tooling around, making laps, making it look way easier than this place is supposed to be.
So, Steve, when NASCAR and Goodyear bring a new tire, as a crew chief, how much time are you investing in learning where that tire is going to go and then planning, or do you kind of wait for practice like this to then make your decisions on what you do race setup?
Well, so Goodyear tests the tire in the lab on a belt, and it basically gives out a data set which drives all of your simulation. And you do their studying, but I always kind of reserve until I see practice, real cars on the racetrack on the weekend. I mean, look at just last week. Tires could run 70 laps on Friday. The track cools 20 degrees, and they can't run 30 laps on Saturday night.
That's a great point.
So just that alone tells me that we need to get up here to New Hampshire, see what kind of weather it is, and see what kind of reaction our car has to that new tire.
Jeff, we will not have any problems finding Riley Herbst this weekend in the Beatbox Toyota. Love that paint scheme. Colorful, if nothing else, right?
You should not miss it. That is for sure.
Did you ever beatbox when you were a kid?
Look, I love it when new partners come in and they bring cool paint schemes, something different. It's fun to see. I always wonder who created the paint scheme. Like, how did they get to it? Like, it's pretty interesting stories behind all of those paint schemes.
And I'll tell you what, Steve, if you're that race team third fastest here in the practice session, Hampshire Bennett, it was kind of a tough track for Riley and Xfinity, but to be third quickest in this Group A, you got to make the team feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I think for Riley, he just needs to. It's a little like the SVG conversation. I know it's not exactly apples to apples because he has run Xfinity and run some Ols, but just his first year in Cup, we just need to kind of log the laps, sit in the meetings, listen to his teammates. We forget the 2311's expanded to 3 cars that. Tyler Reddick and Mom Wallace are his teammates. Sit in the meetings, listen to how they go through the weekend, how they go through the process. Lean on those playoff drivers with the experience and just try to soak that all in.
I don't think it hurts that they finished 18th last week at Bristol. Nice finish for them, Steve.
Yeah, we talk about not being able to take off. Look at that left rear tire at the 60 of Ryan Preece and just how low of air pressure they run. It looks like a drag. The dragster kind of gassing up off the line, and this is after a couple laps. You see the wrinkle. I bring that up. This looks totally normal, but if the right side tire loses grip, like we all expect it to, and lap time should fall off, this is where you're going to go chase to try to fix that. By getting air out of that left rear, air really, really helps the long run. You saw it wrinkled up. Now, take it over those bumps and let it bounce 2 or 3 times. We have seen rear tire failures here.
Yeah.
I only try to bring that up before somebody decides to do it. But that's short track. I mean, that has probably 10 or 11 PSI in it, 12 PSI.
That's it.
That's all you would run
Whoa.
at Martinsville. You'd be down in the single digits.
That's insane.
Right there. You can, there's not a lot of loading at this racetrack because there's not much banking in the corners. So there's not a lot of load, but when you run down the straightaway and, there's kind of the same amount of force on the left and right side tires, and you go through that bump, it really can do damage with that left rear. Watch the left rear buckle up Steve was talking about. Then as it goes through the bump, you can see it. That's the scary part of low air pressure.
The load and the unload, Jeff.
That's correct. And it damages the sidewall of the tire. And that's the failure that Steve was talking about.
So if I'm in my passenger car at home, Steve, I'm getting a low air pressure warning.
You are
On that.
And just think of the tire like a coat hanger. Like it's more than strong enough. But if you take a coat hanger and you bend it 2 or 3 times, it finally easily breaks. And that's really what that shoulder of that tire looks like. It is more than strong enough with the air pressure pushing it out like it's supposed to be. But when you let that air pressure down so much that the tire gets bent in the inward direction, and then it goes in and out, in and out, in and out until finally it breaks. So what happens is when the belts inside the tire break, then it leaks even a little more, and then it slowly goes flat because they don't have that like you have at home in the cooling weather. We're all doing it. We're all putting. If you woke up this morning in New England, you're putting air in your tires because the 40 degrees
Yeah.
definitely took some pressure out of the tires. So,
Some of my question is, Steve, I mean, McDowell's on lap 31 of that run. When does this air pressure get greater? And you don't see
Hopefully
that
never.
tire.
I mean, in goal, you want that thing to stay as flat. Tire buildup is not your friend. A flat tire or that low air has the most grip. You know, you would like for it to build up to a certain point, but once you run about 8 or 10 laps, they don't really build up a whole lot more from there, maybe a little bit, especially if your car's driving bad. But the left rear tire doesn't move a lot. It's actually one of the hardest. The left side tires are the hard tires to actually heat up. It's so flat.
Do you feel that, Jeff, or not?
You feel the squish of the tire, but you can't tell if it's the springs, shocks, or the setup, right? You can't. I never could. Maybe someone better than me could tell the difference. I could just feel the back of the car moving. Let's go back to the light on the car.
Okay.
Like you pay attention.
Well, I listen, like my daughter went off to college and she left her vehicle at home, so I've changed the oil, I've put air in the tires, I've been servicing it ever since.
So when she turns her car on, it says the light says, "Thanks, Dad."
Yeah, it's all that.
That's good. I like that.
How about the marbles right there? You see them right there bouncing around. That's the other thing about a right side tire that wears, you know, at Bristol, it kind of coated the top. Not a big deal here. Won't have the same sort of issue. But this rubber will build up inside the race car, build up in the brake ducts, build up in some different areas. Just another thing to keep in mind.
Well, we certainly saw that be a problem. That was the Josh Berry issue from last week where the got caught in the rocker panel,
Yeah.
caught fire, and had to exit the car. Been a rough couple of weeks for Daniel Suarez and this team. And Jeff, you'd love to see them kind of build some momentum as Daniel continues to look for a gig next year. He's already announced he's not coming back to Trackhouse Racing. So, but they have just not been able to put together the results on the 99 team.
No, they really haven't. And I know right now that his teammate Ross Chastain, who is still in the playoffs, is paying really close attention to the speed of this car. But if you compare this car on lap 44 to Josh Berry on lap 40, Suarez all but a half second off. So I know there's cause for concern with the Chastain car. You would, like, look, we don't know. Maybe it's 2 completely different setups in the 2 cars, but you would imagine that knowing coming up here that they're in Group A, you're in Group B, that you want to learn all that you can from this race car. And clearly right now, Daniels cannot be happy with this race car.
Ross has 2 drivers to listen into as well.
Well, I was going to say, I actually think the 88 is a little better than the 99.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, I'd say he's a chunk better.
He did come in, though. He
Yeah,
came in and he cycled, so that may be making his a little better or not. We're not sure with this tire.
You know, the goal for the one team certainly has been in these playoffs to improve qualifying. They have done that. They qualified top 10 in 2 of the 3 races in the round of 16. But, man, they got to get the race results a little bit better as Trackhouse hopes that they can advance the one team left in the playoffs out of the round of 12 and into the round of 8. And just like that, practice for Group A is over with A.J. Allmendinger being the fastest here in that session. So we mentioned it, just 12 drivers left, 7 weeks until Championship Sunday in Phoenix. Can Team Penske make it a 4th straight championship, or can Joe Gibbs Racing continue their domination? They won every race in the round of 16, but the round of 12 kicks off tomorrow on USA, right here from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Back with Group B and all the playoff drivers next.
All right, we'll go through the 18 drivers and where they stacked up on the overall lap sheet. We'll look at lap averages and then a highlight of the point standings coming into the weekend. AJ Allmendinger fastest overall from group number 1 with a 127.645 mile per hour average on his fastest lap, which was a 29.839 second lap time. Ryan Preece was in second, about almost 400ths of a second off of AJ's fastest lap. Then Riley Herbst in third, Cole Custer fourth, and Michael McDowell rounding out the top 5 in fifth. Sixth was Daniel Suarez. Seventh is Justin Haley in the number 7. Then Austin Dillon 8th, Eric Jones 9th, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 10th. Josh Berry 11th, Noah Gragson 12th, Jonathan Nemechek 13th, 14th Shane Van Gisbergen, Ty Dillon 15th, Kyle Busch 16th, 17th for Todd Gilliland, Cody Ware 18th of 18. Now onto the lap average sheet. Fastest 5-lap average on the short run, AJ Allmendinger. No surprise with it being the fastest overall as well. And Justin Haley actually had the fastest 10-lap average. Michael McDowell for the fastest 15-lap average. And almost everybody ran at least 15 consecutive laps. And a lot more of them also with 20 consecutive laps, which is where Josh Berry took over. And Berry had the fastest 20, 25, and 30-lap averages in the practice session for Group 1 specifically. Not a lot of drivers took to 25 consecutive laps or more. But Josh Berry definitely had the best long-run car, it seemed like, of Group 1. So with all of the 3 Penske Fords in Group 2, I'm curious to see what their long-run speed's going to look like. And usually we see Blaney with the longer runs as the best. Saw that with all the tire wear last week, at Bristol, a week ago from today. Might be the case again. As for the point standings coming into this week, 12 drivers continue their quest for the championship as we begin the round of 12 at New Hampshire. This round consists of New Hampshire, Kansas, and the Charlotte Roval. Denny Hamlin will be the new number 1 seed with the playoff points scored from the last round and obviously all the way through the regular season. He now jumps with a plus 26-point cushion. That was the same cushion that actually Byron and Larson had going into the last round, but now they're plus 24 at the 2nd and 3rd seed. Christopher Bell plus 20 at the 4th seed. Ryan Blaney plus 19 at number 5. And Chase Briscoe plus 10 at 6. And plus 5 for Chase Elliott, plus 1 for Bubba Wallace. Those are the last 2 drivers above the cut line. And the 4 drivers below would be Austin Cindric, -1, -2 for Joey Logano and Ross Chastain, -3 Tyler Reddick. Very, very tight. Only 29 points separate 1st through 12th. Anything could happen in this next 3-race stretch. We'll take a quick break. Practice continues on the other side of the full screen commercial break, currently airing on True TV, which is where you can watch the visual purposes for today's practice and qualifying session at New Hampshire.
Round of 12 for the NASCAR Cup Series kicks off tomorrow from the Hampshire Motor Speedway, right here, or actually on USA. Countdown to green, 1:30. And then the race, 2 p.m. Next weekend, it's Kansas Speedway. Always an exciting event there. You've got ARCA Series coming up on FS1 on Friday. Then Saturday, the Xfinity Series continues their playoffs. That's on CW. And then the Cup Series race, the middle race in the round of 12 on USA next Sunday. We talked a lot about Josh Berry in that session. Dillon, you with him?
Yeah, let's get his thoughts. So it looks like on paper, the 21 was really good on the long run. Did you feel that confident in it as well after you got out?
Yeah, for sure. I felt like we had a really good car there. I've been excited for this one. Ran really well here last year in the 4. And, you know, I know these guys bring such great cars coming to these places that I felt like this would be one that would be a lot of fun for us. So, yeah, I felt like the car was really good. You know, just need a few tweaks and kind of see where it goes. Obviously, it's hard sometimes with the Group A versus Group B, and we don't have a great qualifying draw and stuff. But hopefully, we can just make the most of that and have a solid day and kind of get our head back above water.
Yeah, it sounds like for a team that's just trying to get things sorted and back on the rails, Mamba, off to a good start for Josh Berry.
Yeah, the same over here with Brian Preece, man. You know, they had to put the 2 New England guys together. So the car looks pretty good. P2 in practice so far. How big would it be for you to win in front of this hometown crowd?
pretty big. I grew up here just like you did. So, to have Mohawk Northeast, which is a New England-based company, and they've supported me all along the way. So, it would be massive to be able to get that win. And yeah, Derek and RFK, they brought a great Mohawk Northeast Ford Mustang, and yeah, I feel pretty good about our chances.
Guys, you can tell how locked in and focused Ryan Preece in the 60 group is.
Boy, all these New England folks, you being one, Steve, they love this event, man.
It's your chance. You've been watching the pros come here forever, and now you're one of them if you're Ryan Preece, and why not have your breakthrough win here?
And the fans always turn out for this one as well here for a little Saturday afternoon practice after a modified race earlier and a Truck Series race as well. Hard to beat the picturesque setting in the Northeast, especially when it's about fall time. Cup Series will race tomorrow afternoon. Repeat practice coming up next here on QTV.
Yeah, a little bit of a cool down period between Group 1 and Group 2 for practice. So 25 minutes again, just like Group 1 had, which will be for Group 2. All 12 playoff drivers will be coming up in this second group. And there will be 6 other non-playoff drivers who will also be for Group 2. Our live commentary coverage continues right here on KRC. We're up to 17 likes on the stream. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe for more NASCAR content like this every NASCAR race weekend. Truck Xfinity Cup racing, as well as Cup practice and qualifying. Xfinity off this week at Loudon, but they'll be back next weekend at Kansas Speedway. And then the trucks who are racing this week will be off next week at Kansas. So last off week of the year for the Xfinity Series this week. Final off week, I believe, for the trucks will be next week. Actually, no, they have 2 off weeks left. They have next week and then Las Vegas. So 2 more off weeks for the Truck Series the rest of the season. Obviously none for Cup. After this weekend, guys, we only have 6 races left of the 2025 season. Insane. Most laps ran in that first group of practice. Daniel Suarez put down 46 laps in the 25-minute session. And some of the faster lap times in the 29.8s for a few drivers. AJ's fastest lap was a 29.839. And usually in practice, Group 1 has the quicker of the lap times. I will say there was quite a bit of rubber on the racetrack, though, with the truck race taking place. So that might not be the case this weekend compared to most, as it wasn't necessarily a green racetrack at the beginning of the session. Track conditions, honestly, between the rubber laid down on the track from the truck race before Cup practice and then the time of the day that this is taking place, it's going to be very similar to how the track conditions and even just the timing of the race tomorrow is going to be throughout the second half of the events. Seemed like there was quite a few changes in the truck race as far as who was fast to who wasn't at various times. Patty and Rumdy Creations, welcome to the stream. Patrick Shadley, also welcome in. Many others if you're just tuning in for the first time. Back to green flag conditions, it looks like. As soon as I come back from the commercial break, I'll let you listen into more of the TV coverage for True TV.
Go inside the race with HBO Max, home of the NASCAR Driver Cam, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook and Straight Talk Wireless. Access every in-car camera with real-time driver data, multi-view options, and full team audio. Watch NASCAR Driver Cam all season long, only on HBO Max. Looks like you got a number of cameras to select from this weekend, Jeff. Great views there on the driver cams.
Yeah, it is fun to watch different drivers, different points of the race, right? Like a guy starting,
Sure.
restart on lap, starting in the 10th row. It's chaos back there.
Are restarts more difficult? Where would you rank New Hampshire on the difficulty? of
High,
restarts?
high on the list because you'll be 4 wide. Everybody's trying to make something happen on restarts. Don't have a ton of rip when you get down into turn one, launching in the restart zone. The bottom lane never gets going like the outside lane. That bunches everybody up heading into turn one. People run the apron. People run the third lane. It's all over the place.
All the playoff drivers in Group B. Riding on board with Denny Hamlin. So much success here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Not a fan of lobsters, though. That word ostraconophobia, Steve. The fear of crustaceans. Denny has it.
That's too many syllables for my simple education. I'm going to let that one be.
Hey, he'll take one, though, Jeff.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Fear of
exactly.
crustaceans.
Now, you want proof that he does not like lobsters? You got lots of proof of that. But Hamlin's so good at this racetrack. Jeff, you won here 4 times as well. What's a key to success here at New Hampshire?
Yeah, but for me, it was always, a great deal of it had to do with everybody talks about. He was scared of the lobster.
Oh, terrified of it. Yeah, exactly.
To me, the everybody talks about you got to get the car to turn in the middle of the corner, and that's 100% accurate. But corner entry speed here is so important. From the time you get to the corner, right here where you live, to the center of the corner, it is a long way. So you almost can't overdrive the entry as long as you hit your mark. Then the car's got to turn, and you got to be able to stay in the throttle on corner exit. If that car is rotating in the middle, and you're able to be in the gas and be full throttle in the gas before the next guy, that is a ton of speed. These are long straights. For exit speed and entrance speed here is critical.
Yeah, Steve, I found it interesting that, they lost the tire last week at Bristol, so that means a 2-race suspension for the front tire changer and the jack band. And I found it interesting that they made the collective decision at Juliet Racing to push that off a week, which they can. And I talked to Chris Gabehart about that earlier today. So really the decision was based on the Roval. We kind of put the suspension on Kansas Roval versus New Hampshire, Kansas, because pit stops are going to be so important tomorrow.
Yeah, and with it being a short race, like only 301 laps, it's really a sprint. You're probably looking at probably 5 or 6 pit stops, depending on the yellows and all that. And you just have to, you can't recover here. Once you lose track position, you are sunk. So I thought that was an interesting call. Plus, I think he could win in any of the. Well, let me back that up. I don't think Denny Hamlin could win at the Roval.
Yeah,
but I think
he agrees with you.
But I think he would tell us the same thing. But I absolutely know he can win here or Kansas. So you don't want to be missing your pit crew tracks where you think you can win. William Byron jumps to the top.
Yeah, nice lap.
7.
For Byron, and this has not been a Hendrick Motorsports track over the last couple of years. Speaking of Hendrick Motorsports, we mentioned all the playoff teams are in Group B. Alex Bowman no longer in the playoffs, but man, Steve, I got to give that team credit. Blake Harris never quit stepping up to the plate last Saturday night at Bristol and taking a swing to do something, anything, to keep his driver in the game.
Yeah, in the end, they didn't have a set of tires put on, right? They were out of tires, it mattered at the end of the race. It started at Darlington here with somehow, really inexplicably, the air guns had come unplugged from the pit box, and it had a very long pit stop that puts it behind. Then the jack drops the next week, as worldwide technology, victory changes were made to go to Bristol. And as you put it, it was a dogfight. They got spun out. This is really why they lost a set of tires. As simple as that. It sounds crazy, but those 4 tires are now no good. And Blake, at some point, you have to call the race to try to win it. He was aggressive. They got the yellow they didn't want, and that's what hurt their chances. But they gave themselves a shot in a must-win situation.
And Jeff, to me, to go in a must-win scenario and then wind up at the end of the day only missing this round by 10 points, that says a lot about. They never quit last Saturday night.
No, like even when they had the issues, they stayed together. They kept fighting. And it was a disappointing playoffs for this team for sure. They finished the regular season. Those last couple of months, 3 months, were very consistent, strong finishes. Just kind of put it all together, and then as soon as the playoffs started, you just can't make that many mistakes. So that with not enough points as a cushion because your regular season wasn't great, it was a trying first 3 races for them, but they seemed to stay together, stay motivated. The speed penalty also by Alex at some point, so it was, just not their best.
We mentioned his teammate William Byron, Steve. I mean, where has the speed gone? Well, for the Hendrick camp period, but especially for this 2014.
The second half of every race, that's where the 24 is gone. When you look at it, he scored 15 of his 16 stage points the first round in the first stage. He finished worse than he qualified in all 3 races. Wow. The practice speed with 24 is good. As you see today, his qualifying speed is good. I wouldn't say like stand out great, but very good. But they either have a small miscue on pit road, a bad restart, and get behind the check. Like, I don't think it's one smoking gun, which makes it very hard to correct. Correct. But if you look at the first third of a race and the last third of a race, he's less competitive in the last third. And this is a team that I would have thought used to be the other way in previous years. So if I'm Rudy Fugel, great first round, I advanced by over 50 points, nearly 60 points. I don't have them in danger of being eliminated, but that's what I'm focusing on. How do we close out these races as well as we start them? Mamba.
Yeah, Steve, to your point, a lot of throughout this year, the 24 has had a lot of raw speed at the beginning of practice and qualifying, and it's been the tail end. And now coming into the fifth, it's kind of switched. I was talking to Jensen Saunders, who's actually the car chief for Kyle Larson, and I said, this place has been kind of an Achilles heel for the whole team. He said, yes, but we tested at a gateway. The gateway test, we came away from it with a lot of information that we feel like is going to come in from all these flat tracks. And it shows right now with the 24 leading practice right now, Jeff.
Yeah, great speed, great takeoff speed for sure. The guy that kind of caught my eye, last lap wasn't great, but the lap before that, with the 12 car Blaney, and that was a really good lap right there, a 30-10. That's pretty impressive. That right there, remember we talked about the 21 car, Penske Alliance, he had really good speed later in the run. That lap right there from Blaney was really the fastest of anybody. But his teammates, Logano and Hendrick, they're not there yet. Logano is about 2/10 off of Blaney. Hendrick about 2/10 off of Blaney.
And if you believed everything from the tire test a couple of weeks ago, Joey Logano was by far the best car for Brian Blaney. Very quick right now, Dillon.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to talk to Jonathan Hassler on this 12 car. He said, we were happy with what we had here last year, but obviously the new tire, you're not going to be able to bring exactly what you had. You're going to have to do some fine tuning. But he said the biggest thing that they learned from that test, looking at the 22 car data, was through the bumps on the backstretch, what you guys talked about at the beginning of the show. Hassler said he felt like last year they were like 75 to 80% there as far as where they wanted to be, getting over those bumps as efficiently as possible. But the tire test that Joey did elevated that number even more. So not sure how much of a difference that'll make. Obviously, it's a big characteristic of this racetrack, and the smoother you can get over them, the better. But he pointed that out as that was a big gain that they learned as a collective group through that tire test that Joey did.
Those are the types of advantages you can find in a test because you have so many more sensors on the car to measure like everything you can imagine, wheel load and travel and a bunch of things where you can really work on the bumps, specific velocity, and like how treacherous the bumps are. But I'm a new Jet Blaney right now is working his way to a clear standout of the entire field.
You see that bump right there? You can see Joey Logano. We'll just stay along with him here for another lap. Exit of turn 4, left side tires right on those white lines. Try not to be above, but below those white lines because there's a loss of banking down there. Drives to the bottom to see if he washes up the racetrack. He does. Uses a little bit in the middle, turns, leaves on the exit of turn 4. Now watch his helmet. Watch it as he goes to these bumps. See, I mean, they are rough. And as we talked about, it's right in the braking zone. His lap times are good. They're just not where Blaney is.
Yeah, if you look at Joey Logano's round of 16, he averaged 30 points a race, which was inside the top 8. His big deficiency, if you wanted to call one out, was only 3 stage points per race on average. I think that's short of what you're going to need to continue to advance in the playoffs. He had a clean round, no major issues. He had good days. Like, I don't know how to say it other than the champ knows how to show up in the playoffs. That's what they did. They didn't beat themselves. That's really what they did in the first round. Is they kept the car pointed in the right direction. They kept the tires on it. They tried to avoid pit road mistakes. He raced like a multi-time champ.
Tell you what, for the first 30 laps at Bristol, though, you had to be worried if you're a 22 fan. They were pulling the wrong direction quick. But it just seemed like to me, Steve, as soon as that tire wear started getting into the game, that really helped the 22 out because Joey very good at that type of race.
Yeah, very. Just a cerebral driver. He's always thinking about trying to find an advantage.
How about the first round for Bubba Wallace? They ended the round of 16, Jeff, plus 50 above the cut line. Here's the deal with the reset, though. They start round of 12, plus 1 above the cut line. That's it. It was a spectacular round for them until Bristol.
Yeah, but now it gets more difficult as you go through these rounds, right? So down to 12 as a 12 best team, so you have to be your best. It's really when the pressure really starts ramping up. Each round gets more and more difficult. Right now, Bubba Wallace, it's not as fast as he needs to be. He just ran a 60 right there. Blaney on the same lap ran a 30, so about 0.3 of a second off.
Well, the good news for Bubba Wallace is if he's 0.3 of a second off Blaney, then he's about a tenth off the rest of the field.
I was going to say.
They're 0.2 of a second off Blaney. And what I mean by, I agree with you that Bubba is off Blaney a chunk, but everyone is. So, I mean, it's really quite miraculous how fast this 12 car is.
So
Hearing that, ladies and gentlemen, the 12 car looks far and away the favorite
Ross has been telling us for months we got to get
in practice.
They did that in the round of 16, Jeff. They qualified in the top 10, 2 out of 3 races. Their race performance was not stellar, but it was solid. But here, I mean, it just seems like they're a decent amount off in this practice session.
Yeah, he's only run 12 laps, so that means that he, just didn't like his car.
Same thing the 16 team did. Group 1.
What are you noticing there from the one car?
It doesn't look bad. Just it's a little difficult to compare him to other people because of the lap count on his tires. Like when he said there were 13 laps. And the guy we keep talking about, Blaney, has 21 laps. So it's very difficult to compare speeds in the two cars.
It's one of those tracks, too. It's very hard to see because sometimes if your car's not doing what you want, you just have to slow it down a touch more than everyone else or more than you want. And it's like you can't really see a mile an hour. Like, cars don't have a lot of movement here. I always thought that, Jeff, from standing on top of the truck and watching practice, I have to look at lap times. I really can't go by how the car looks.
Yeah, it's very hard to see differences.
How about Chase Briscoe? Man, did they have a terrific round of 16. Started off with the big win in the Southern 500 to kick off the playoffs. And this team was 87 points off the cut line by the time that first round ended. I mean, we all knew the potential of the 19 team was there with that Steve, but I don't know if anybody expected them to have a round like that.
Well, the win almost, crazy enough, masked how good they were because they scored the most points per race on average of all the playoff drivers. So not only was he winning or did win, but he was very, very good when he didn't win. And I think that's the key for this 19. They have everything that's needed to continue to advance. They just need to try to keep the momentum going. It is a psychological thing, though, right? Because now they're only 10 above. So you could have had the greatest round in the world, and if you have an issue here on the first restart, or you have an issue and somebody runs into you, you can easily leave here below.
And you look at those career numbers at New Hampshire, Jeff, and I'm just wondering, being a driver, does it put a little pressure on Chase? Because he knows how good Martin Truex Jr. was and how good this 19 team has been at this track for such a long period of time.
I think he's proven what he can do. I think he feels pretty confident in his ability. He's shown it. Now, I will tell you that his teammate, Ty Gibbs, has driven away from him. So that's never what you're looking for. Ty Gibbs got by him and has moved away from him. So as a competitor, you always judge yourself on your competition, how your car is driving. And right now, 19 car, Briscoe, that whole group knows they've got to find some speed.
Well, Ty Gibbs, I thought it was his race at Bristol. He drove an amazing race. Just a simple mistake, and And I'm not going to harp on it because it's hard to pick on someone who's trying too hard. Worn out tires, trying to get the pit road, chasing the 19, back up on the racetrack in front of the 33. That was it. You just have to ask yourself if he could somehow get the pit road behind the 19 right there. Now, there's still a lot of racing left with the caution in the pit cycle, but he was one of the best, if not the best car most of the night. And really, in a race, you talk about good Logano is in a race that doesn't match Ty's personality for me, right? He seems like an attack-go guy, right? Like, go get it. Go as hard as you can. Make it all happen. He drove like the wily veteran until that simple mistake, which, Jeff, so easy to make. But just managed his tires, managed traffic, did such a nice job.
Jeff, I think this is going to test the character of this young race team. We got a very young driver in Ty Gibbs. You got a young crew chief in Tyler Allen. You know, how does Tyler Allen rally his drivers? Say, hey, forget about last week. We have race-winning speed. When they're two young guys trying to figure out the sport together.
Well, they're surrounded with a lot of experience, right? You have to lean on that experience. And look, they have to feel good about the last month and a half of the speed. They were just so far behind early in the year. They just didn't get off the start they needed to. But it is clear that this team is heading in the right direction. And, you know, young drivers, young crew chiefs, young pit crews, young engineers make more mistakes than older guys. Normally, that's an experience. But you just gotta learn from those incidents like last week and move forward. But I'm on leaning toward the positive on this team and this driver. I think they're headed where they need to.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to forget last week. I would look at the opposite. I think a focal point. This is how good we can be, and those are mistakes we can't make. Now, it's not a personal blame, but you have to be able to kind of judge your performance. And this is tough. If you want to chase down some of these other cars, you have to be able to kind of identify them. But I agree with Jeff. I think it's a good learning experience.
Great point on Ty Gibbs. Tyler Reddick has had a decent round of 16, but I don't think anybody expected them, to struggle with the performance, with the results as much as they have, Steve.
Well, I think the reason everybody thinks he's struggling is because of 23 so fast. So I think that's really it. I think his teammate being fast is really what's kind of put the eyesight on the 45. Another car that I think is maybe a little faster than we gave credit for is 5. I think the 24 behind him or the 9 is pretty good as well. But the 5 of Kyle Larson, I think, has some pretty good speed here today. He's not quite the 12 car, but on the long run, he's finding some pretty decent laps. The difference is the 5's been in and off of pit road.
Yeah, well, the 12 up in the distance, he just got by this 19 car, and he drove away from him. So Briscoe and his team, he said it earlier, his teammate got by him and drove by him. He saw Blaney get by him, and he's driven away from him. These guys are not happy. Chase Elliott, he's running down. They're on equal tires. My team has some work to do.
Tell you what, this could be a big moment, Steve, for Hendrick Motorsports. I mean, this has not been their racetrack. I mean, Hendrick's last win at New Hampshire, Casey Kane, 2012.
Wow.
Long time since they've won here in New Hampshire. And I'm not saying they have winning speed right now, but for them to even run top 5 would be a big turnaround for them at this place.
Yeah, I mean, I think the beauty is it's early enough in the playoffs. They don't have to win here. The 48 was the car that had the most work to do in the first round. He unfortunately was eliminated. They got their other 3 cars through. And then you look at where the points are. I mean, it's definitely a little uncomfortable, right, for Chase Elliott, who's only 5 above.
5, yeah.
But if you look at Byron and Larson at both 24 above, you just need to come out of here you just can't think it's a must win. Just run all the laps and finish inside the top 10 and move on to Kansas. I really think they have the pace at all of them to be good enough.
Yeah, especially as good as Chase Elliott was at Kansas earlier this year. Arguably had the best car. We've seen razor thin margins with the wall here, Jeff, and I think Carson Hocevar tested that.
Yeah, that's something you don't see that often, is setting yourself up for the corner and just using a little bit too much racetrack, trying to be as far to the right as he can to best get the angle, get it into turn 3, and just misjudge it by a little bit. Now, I have done that. But it is unusual. 2 things can be true at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jeff. Really good point. Christopher Bell, Mr. New Hampshire, won 2 of the last 3 races here. Tell you what, see, they waited a little bit to go out. Adam Stevens will do that on occasion. Lap 27, not bad lap times longer in the run here for this 20 team.
Yeah, it's so hard to kind of compare when they wait to go out, but as you mentioned it, the success up here is so high that I just don't think they feel the need to go prove themselves that they're going to be good. I just think they know they're going to be good.
You want to know how good Bell is here in the 3 major touring series of NASCAR? He has 10 career starts, 7 wins, and only 1 finish worse than second.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
I wouldn't worry about hustling out for practice either.
I would say our base setup's okay. Pablo, what's going on with the 20?
Yeah, I was watching as they got ready for practice today. One of the first people out on pit road and around the group was Coach Gibbs. And I was talking to some people around Coach. I'm like, what is it about how he keeps everyone galvanized? And they said that he is so locked in still. He was happy, ecstatic that they won all 3 races in the first stage, but he was also very frustrated that the 54 wasn't a winner as well. And obviously, in 3 races, you have 4 cars, only 3 of them can win, but Coach is still hungry to get as much out of his race team as he possibly can.
Yeah, if I had to handicap the field right now, I think Blaney's still the standout. But then there's a big bucket of cars behind them. I think the 24, the 5, the 20. Sure, I'm missing a couple. Like, there's just a lot, right? There's a big group of cars that in the right position and sleeping on a setup overnight and track changes, they could be close.
One that I'm watching that has my interest is the 2-car of Hendrick. It's a little hard to tell where he is on speed compared to everyone else because he ran a few laps, ran about 8-9 laps, came in, pitted, made a change, went back out. And when he went back out, his 13th lap after sitting in the pits, that was his fastest lap on his 13th. No one else did that. So it makes me think, Dillon, that they made a change on this race car that certainly made it better.
They did make a change. They were too tight. So I checked in with Brian Wilson, the crew chief. He said they made a front bar change, which was what they were doing before they went back out. And then that 13th lap, as you said, was their fast lap. So I thought Austin was pretty candid this morning when I saw him in the garage. He said, I feel like this place, I've run pretty well here, but Brian sometimes just has to carry me at this place. He said, it's not one of my strongest. So if we can get a good race car underneath me, I think we'll be okay. So doing some fine tuning on it here, but the change they made, the big change they made there during a brief pause, seemed to be in the right direction.
Steve, I'm just glad he survived last week after this fire in the right front. I mean, Austin changed the car way longer than I would have.
Yeah, he stayed in the car. This is the same issue they had in 21. I do think it's funny that a couple Fords. Why I was thinking some Fords. But they did a nice job of keeping their driver out there. It ended up not being as close as I thought it was going to be, but for a few laps there, it was starting to become a little stressful.
Well, the weird part was as he's sitting there on pit road, you're just watching the points go from 10 to 9 to 8 to 7 to 6 to 5, and it was like, you thought it was all going to disappear right away, Jeff.
Well, and I would like to add that, I've been in a race car when it's on fire, and it is not pleasant. You sit in that race car with all that smoke. And you saw it with Josh Berry. He was committed to trying to stay in it. He finally just had to get out of it. Couldn't get the fire out. This team was fortunate enough to get the fire out. But that is more than just the fire. Inhaling all of that is a very, very unpleasant experience. And, hanging in there like that, it's just hard to explain how difficult it is for Austin Hendrick to just sit in that car and just power himself through it.
And he never flinched once. I mean, I was listening to their radio the entire time. No one said, get out. He never said a word. He just sat there, and they just tried to figure out how to get the fire out. And that's the reason they were able to advance into the round of 12. And we'll see what this race team can do. Obviously, the Mobil, Pinsky's got better at the road courses at the end of this round. That's kind of what everybody has circled in the round of 12, the Mobil at the end of it. But it's a real chance that this team could wind up in the round of 8. Never know what can happen.
My goal would be to make sure that the Mobil isn't needed about most drivers in the playoffs. Yeah.
Anybody in this round.
Well, if you think SVG's going to win it, right? If you say, hey, SVG's the favorite to win, I'm not saying he's going to, but he's going to be the favorite. Well, now that means that, points become even more important.
Sure. Yeah. Group B wrapping up here. Jeff, does Ryan Blaney still stand out to you as the standout car?
Yeah, he does to me. I will say that as this run has gone on a little bit later, some of that advantage may have gone away. Chase Elliott looks really good on that long run. So, you know, what we don't know, because we're just not going to get this far in practice, is what happens on lap 75. You know, what happens there. But you could start to maybe make a case at the very end of that run, the advantage that Blaney had in the middle portion of the run had evaporated.
Team Penske certainly strong, and who knows, Hendrick Motorsports might have found something for this weekend. It's the round of 12. It all starts here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, one of the toughest challenges for any of the Cup teams. Then it goes to Kansas, a 1.5 mile track where Hendrick Motorsports and the 5-team won earlier this year. And it wraps up at the Rose Bowl. Who will survive the round of 12 to get to the round of 8?
All right, qualifying upcoming very, very, very soon. Practice has just wrapped up. William Byron, the fastest overall lap time, but the long run speed was good old long run Ryan Blaney, as we've seen so many times this season on tracks with a decent amount of tire wear. That is going to be the case again here for this weekend, at least based off of practice. We'll see, obviously, how qualifying of the race is going to go. Qualifying, again, on this stream. You won't have to go anywhere. That will take over the next hour or so of the stream, and then we'll be back again tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Eastern for the start of the NASCAR Cup Series race. Byron's fast lap in practice was a 29.795. He ran 43 laps. That average lap speed on the fastest time was 127.833 miles per hour, just over 0.04 of a second faster than A.J. Allmendinger. The next fastest driver of the Group 2 drivers to that of Byron was Blaney, who was just over a tenth off. But then, as you heard over the commentary side of things, as Steve Letarte stated that he had a nearly 2 to 3/10 of a second advantage on the rest of the field, he meaning Blaney, when it came to the long run speed, 15 laps and more. So if that 12 team's able to qualify well, on top of having that long run speed, he could be one of the favorites for the win. JGR's won the last 3 races at New Hampshire, and they've got quite the impressive streak where they've finished in the top 2 in the last 13 races this season. Great hot stretch for JGR. One of their 2 drivers have either won or finished second in that stretch, including a race win in the last 3 by sweeping the round of 16 of the playoffs. Briscoe winning the first race at Darlington in the Southern 500. The second race was won by Hamlin at Gateway, and Christopher Bell last weekend at Bristol. Trying to pick up where they left off. Not to mention Ty Gibbs ended up leading, I think, the most laps in that race last week, too. Just over 50 people watching. Be sure to hit the like button so we can get to that goal of 50 likes. We're at 24 right now as we're about halfway through the stream. Shout out to Arena Sarah, John Barber, STL Mark for tuning in the later going of the practice session that I didn't verbally shout out yet. We'll take a quick break. You're listening live on KRC. Again, qualifying will begin shortly. Get that qualifying order on screen. 36 drivers in the field this weekend. Daniel Suarez will be the first driver to qualify. Then Cole Custer, A.J. Allmendinger, Josh Berry, Cody Ware, Ty Dillon, Noah Gragson, Todd Gilliland, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. That will be the front 9 to make a qualifying lap. We'll have a little bit of a cool down period between qualifying and practice, but shouldn't be more than 5 to 10 minutes from now. We'll see Daniel Suarez get on the racetrack first. 1 lap around this 1 mile oval. Should be a fun one. Yeah, I actually, I forgot. So I've been to Bristol 5 times now, but I've only been there now 3 times for the night race. It had been a couple years since the last night race I went to. I completely forgot that the national anthem for the Cup race at Bristol, all the drivers' kids sing the national anthem. Yeah, they were a little off tone. The crowd was helping them out quite a bit too. Like midway through it, you could kind of feel that it was kind of going south, and then the crowd, at least my section or the sections around me, all started singing at the same time. So collectively, that was pretty cool. Kept everybody in tune.
Won every race in the round of 16. It's never happened before in Cup Series history. Can they keep the momentum going? That's the big question as we start the round of 12 here at New Hampshire, Mama.
Yeah, trying to keep that momentum going is Chase Briscoe, one of the best qualifiers in the NASCAR Cup Series this year.
The
Chase,
best.
how do you feel about the car?
It's not even
feel like you have
one of it's the best.
No, not right now. But honestly, I feel like I'm always kind of lost when I come here in general. So really leaning on, James and the guys that honestly kind of tell me what they typically do here, right? So I don't know. It's definitely a track that's always been a struggle for me, but felt good about it coming into this week. It just was really just loose in, tight centered, loose off there, which is, I feel like, kind of typical for this place. But yeah, just kind of like, I still need to do better on my end. And yeah, confident that they're getting better for me. It's just a matter of me, putting all the pieces together. So yeah, I would have loved to have a little bit better practice there, but it's not, uncommon territory for us to be like that in practice, then be really good in qualifying in the race. So yeah, looking forward to see what we can do.
I feel like most of the time when I talk to you after practice, this is your demeanor. And I don't know what we really have, and then you fire up a really rocket lap. Does that just give you confidence in your guys and your group that no matter what, you guys can figure it out?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Our Bass Pro Shop, Tracker Toyota has been really good every single week, right, in qualifying and even in the race. So yeah, no need to panic. Honestly, last week I think I told you that my car was unbelievable in practice, and I qualified 31st. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is what we need anyways.
Calm, cool, and collected down here in the 19th pit, Dillon.
And let's see if we can grab Austin Cindric here, who was chatting with Brian Wilson and doing some debrief. Okay, so we saw you guys make a change there and then go back out and set the fastest lap of the session for you. So was that change a positive change?
Yeah, it was actually. Who'd have thought? No, it's a good adjustment there. I mean, we started off definitely a little further off than we wanted to, but it's able to reel it back in a little bit, find some pace, but also find some versatility in the car. So yeah, good step. We needed it though. We were pretty far off the start.
All right, good changes made for the two team in a good direction as we get ready to send cars out to qualify here, playoff racing in New Hampshire.
Commercial on True TV for visual purposes. Again, that's where you can watch today's qualifying and practice sessions. Daniel Suarez will be the first driver out to qualify as soon as they come back from that said commercial. Remo, welcome into the stream as well. And we are back. We did not do any Cup Series action on the channel last week, Friday and Saturday, with practice qualifying and the race for Bristol Motor Speedway. I was there. I wasn't at the track during practice qualifying, so I missed all of that. I got to the hotel to check in as practice was going on, and then I had like 50 minutes between there and the racetrack, so I could kind of short my distance back up for the way home on Sunday. And so that's why I was staying as far away from the hotel. But anyway, by the time I got to the racetrack, qualifying was just finishing up. About an hour before the race started, the Xfinity race on the Friday. So I didn't even know AJ was on the pole until I got up into my seats right before the Xfinity race started to check how qualifying went. But yeah, should be a good one. Again this weekend here at New Hampshire. I think a lot of people, and I've said this on the channel the last couple years now since we've been doing these live commentary streams when we go to New Hampshire, this is probably the most slept on racetrack as far as the actual quality of racing. Like, I have grown to love watching races at New Hampshire. When I was younger, I didn't necessarily find the value in it. But these last like 3 to 4 races here, from like I'll go from 2020 to now, the races at New Hampshire have been pretty solid for the Cup Series. Which is saying something, considering that the next gen races on these, flatter ovals or shorter ovals isn't great. There's been a lot of unpredictability. Last year, some of that was the rain, more so than the race car in general. And then the year before that was the first year we really saw the seams and the sealer in those seams kind of taking over as an extra grip strip, if you will, that was not diagnosed by any of the teams in practice the day before, and just kind of middle of the race. We saw Truex move up there first. Everybody else followed. I believe, if my memory serves me correct, that was the last race that Martin Truex Jr. had won in his NASCAR Cup career. So that'll be interesting to see what James Small, that 19 team with Chase Briscoe, can do here this weekend as well. They were lacking a little bit practice. They were around 20th in overall pace. Briscoe didn't like his car. He should qualify well just because he does more often than not. Although last week at Bristol, he didn't qualify anywhere near the front row, which was really the first time in a while that that had been the case. JGR's won the last 3 races here, and they've been on a hot streak more than any other team in the Cup garage over the last 2 to 3 months. And especially over the last few weeks, winning the last 3 races. Daniel Suarez just hitting the racetrack right now. So getting into the Suarez session of qualifying again, 1 lap for these 36 drivers.
Here with the 12 car.
Yeah, a lot to break down. Lap time on the left, so lowers the goal. Lap 1 all the way to 46 on the bottom. A lot to break down, Jeff. The biggest thing to me, Blaney yellow, the majority of the run, it is faster. You see right here, all faster than Byron. But the question I have is some of that because Blaney takes off a little slower, maybe saving some tire life? And then does this slower section right here for Byron, is that what allows kind of this tail in this direction, right? So we don't really know how this tire is going to react until we see it in the race. But it's racing to me kind of like a little bit like it only has so much life in it. And for every lap you push, it takes a kind of a scoop of life out of the tire. So it looks like you might be able to settle in and save some tire. Now here at qualifying, all that goes out the window.
There's no saving tire. Now, remember the 21 car has a Penske Alliance. He was slow taking off in Group A.
Yeah.
Ended up being the fastest on a long run. So it may be that the drivers aren't saving the tire. It may be their cars just won't go on a restart. If that's the case, you better not get a late race restart because can you overcome it?
First car to go out qualifying here in New Hampshire, Daniel Suarez. Puts a lap in the books at 29.788. Cole Custer was pretty quick in Group A. See what he can do here in qualifying, Jeff.
Well, historically at this racetrack, here in Richmond are the two that really stand out. Going out early is a big deficit. You heard Josh Berry talk about it when he interviewed him. He said they knew that was a deficit going out early. He goes out 4th. We'll see. Sometimes things change. This new tire may make a difference. The temperature, how cooler it is, that may make a difference. But normally, if you were asked when you want to go out, if you had to go out first, this and Richmond are the 2 places you would never want to do that.
To the top for Cole Custer, and some good memories here from New Hampshire. Got his first Truck Series win here. He was the youngest winner in Truck Series history at the time. That was back in 2014. AJ Allmendinger on the track, Dillon.
Let's check in with Ryan Blaney, who we've talked so much about practice. So I heard a lot of other teams on the radio saying they thought you were really good through turn 4 and out of turn 4. Obviously good on the long run. Where do you feel like the car was working the best for you?
Yeah, I'm second with the practice. I felt like we had speed early and kept pretty good speed late into the run as well. I was happy with how my car turned. I thought I got through the bumps into 3 pretty decent as well. That's always kind of the big topic is how do you get over the bumps and how does it recover after the bumps? So I thought that's pretty good strong suit of our car. So proud of 12 boys. Appreciate Menards, Livin, and Ford. Fast race car right now. Hopefully we can go lay a good lap now and start up front and be just as good tomorrow.
Thanks, Ryan.
Tell you what, the Dinger backing up, being the quickest in that Group A to the top by a good bit. Now we'll see what Josh Berry has on that qualifying lap, Jeff.
Yeah, that speed by Allmendinger was about 3/10 faster than anyone had been all day. Josh Berry got into turn 1 really well. Gave up a little bit through the middle, but good exit speed, carrying good speed into 3.
So much for not the takeoff speed that they wanted. In the green, coming to the checkered flag.
I guess I'm not surprised because it is a 1 mile. But this is a track where I'd really love to have 2 laps of qualifying if I was crew chief.
Okay, why?
Just because I think it's a hard track for the driver to settle in, and I do think you can do some things with your air pressures to really select lap 1 versus lap 2. Most short tracks. So this is a short track to me. I know everyone's going to disagree because it's 1 mile. This is a short track. Like, you're on short track tires, you're on short track brakes. It's flat. Now the rule book is clear, so it's the same for everyone. But I just would be interested to see what 2 laps would look like.
It's a pretty good lap right here by Cody Ware. Something that Josh Berry said on his radio kind of surprised me a little bit because I just talked about how going early is such a disadvantage. He said, pretty good, man. Normally, you see a guy going out 4th in line, 4th in order in qualifying, he's never saying pretty good. He's saying, I got no grip, no overall grip. So maybe, Steve, this tire is allowing a little bit more, equal times from early in the run to late in the run. We'll see. We're going to find out for sure, but it was good to hear Josh Berry. For all these guys going early, it was good to hear him say pretty good.
Sometimes with a softer tire, you are less track grip dependent. I know that sounds crazy, but I think track temperature matters the most on a harder tire because it doesn't get going, right? Like you talk about, tire temp matters. Well, if it's a soft enough tire, maybe it grips enough that you, Jeff, the driver, can get the temp in the tire. You've been out here before. It's like driving on ice. We've come up here and tested before, and it'd be in like the 30s. And you would think, oh, this place is going to have a ton of grip. It was like 10 laps in, it hasn't come in yet.
Ty Dillon slots in 3rd, Mamba.
Yeah, we got William Byron. You have a very fast Chevrolet right now. I've talked to some folks at Hendrick that you guys felt like you found some stuff after Gateway. It seems like it's showing up today.
Yeah, I think it's so far so good, right? Like I weren't trying to go out there and be quick on 1 lap, just trying to have the duration. But overall, I feel like the balance is better than what I felt here in the past, and a lot of the things we tried to work on seem to have worked. So just got to marry the whole run together and kind of the whole balance together. So far so good. Raptor Chevy is fast and has good pace, so that's always a good thing. I got to go, lay down a qualifying line.
Some quiet confidence down in the 24 pick, guys.
Checkered flag for Noah Gregson, who slots in 6th. And I think the one thing I think he said, Steve, that I kind of keyed in on there was he said, we took what we thought would work, and it worked. When you do that, and you kind of find some stuff at another track, it's kind of what you want as a team.
Listen, this is a complicated world. You'll do anything where you can connect the dots. Any way you can connect it, really. I don't mean to be smart there, but it's, all the notebooks and the computers everybody carries around, that's everything not to do. That's the thousands of lessons you've learned. So anytime you can find any sort of little hint of a direction, it feels so good.
Todd Gilliland on the track. Love the Grillo's pickle scheme this weekend. But not the lap that they wanted, just 8 quick for Todd Gilliland.
Yeah, that was certainly not what they were wanting. Teammate Noah Gregson went out right before him. He's currently 6th fastest, so both of those guys will be toward the back of the start lineup.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on the track. Had a career best New Hampshire 7th here last year. Love to get another top 10 for that race team.
Well, he had enough in Bristol. It felt like everybody kept running over top of him. He had to be frustrated leaving there.
But they kept moving towards the front. All night long.
It's the line he ran in 1 and 2. He was right on the white line, really low.
Checkered flag for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He winds up 7th. Qualifying just getting going from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Back with more here on True TV.
9 drivers into qualifying out of 36. Josh Berry, the fastest so far with a 29.354, 129.754 mile per hour average. That was about 0.4 of a second quicker than William Byron's fastest lap from practice. AJ Allmendinger is second quickest, who was fastest overall for Group 1 of practice. Josh Berry, the best long run car, so kind of coincidentally, they're 1 and 2. Then Ty Dillon is 3rd. Cole Custer 4th, Daniel Suarez 5th, Noah Gregson 6th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 7th, Cody Ware 8th, and Todd Gilliland 9th. And that runs out the first 9. Next 9 to qualify will be Austin Dillon, then Riley Herbst, Shane Van Gisbergen, Eric Jones, Ryan Preece, Michael McDowell, Justin Haley, Kyle Busch, and John Hunter Nemechek. So that will be the next 8. 27 drivers to go to try to take down Josh Berry's time to get to the pole. Berry was the 4th driver out in qualifying today. Take a quick break. You're listening live on KRC as our full coverage continues of practice and qualifying for the Mobil 1 301 at New Hampshire. Getting down to it. Tough times at Hyatt Motorsports for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Yeah, really the entire second half of the season, I feel like for Stenhouse has just been a nightmare. I mean, he was like 14th, 13th, 14th, 15th in points for about the first, 13 races up until the Coke 600. And then after that, they had that Carson Hocevar deal back-to-back weeks where Hocevar wrecked Ricky, and it's been all downhill ever since. Tale of 2 different seasons for the driver of the 47.
A truly dominating performance today by Jeff Burke. He scores the victory, leading every.
A lot of this still may be true 25 years later, Jeff. Nobody loves this place more than you do.
All that winner he could have bought.
You would think, right?
I'll buy it. It's just my credit card won't work when I have to buy.
Yeah, Jeff Burton,
could've-
4-time New Hampshire winner.
Could have left out the part. Started 38th. Could have left that out.
We'll text our buddy Eli Gold and tell him, hey, that was not good, you know?
No. The people that produced that are the ones I'm talking to right now.
That
We all know who they are. Like, you didn't be like, hey,
You didn't buy that dinner either.
yeah, exactly. Bought people dinner, Jeff, you'd have won that whole controversy, wouldn't you have? Man, that 2000 race, Steve, you and I both were here for that one. I mean, I thought, I was not on pit road that day. I'm like, surely at some point he's not going to lead a lap in this race.
Yeah, pit cycle, something.
Everything.
No.
You've seen him long enough. There's no way he can for this.
Yeah, 300 laps led, pretty impressive.
So Austin Dillon, he had a good lap there, and third fastest right now.
I'm gonna tell you, that lap by Josh Berry just continues to impress more and more with winning out in the qualifying order. And Allmendinger's second, or I'm gonna call him my surprise pole winner last week. I didn't have him as the Bristol pole winner.
Yeah.
He jumped right up, did it. Very, very good run.
That's
Yeah.
the last for Riley Herbst here as well as he winds up 3rd. Lava, what's going on?
I think I found the only guy that likes New Hampshire Motor Speedway more than myself. And that's Christopher Bell, stacking up wins at this place. The question everyone wants to know, Christopher, do you have a car capable of winning tomorrow?
My green Camry, it passes the field test. It doesn't seem like it passes the lap time test yet, so I don't really know what to think. I mean, it has the right balance and it feels really comfortable driving around there. And then I'm looking at the data, I'm like, oh man, I wish it was a little bit faster. So, I don't really know what that means for tomorrow.
Jeff, what does that mean? He says it's a comfortable car, but it doesn't have all the speed that he wants.
That's a tough one. I mean, SVG right here with a good lap is going to be second fastest. That's a really good lap by this 88 car. But, you know, Steve, we've been in that situation where, you know, as a driver, I get out and I'm like, hey, I'm happy. I like my car. Feels like what I need. And you look at me and you say, okay, but we're a tenth of a second off. And now you have decisions to make. I think you look at it and you say, hey, look, if you like the car,
Yeah.
let's look and see where there might be some speed, and then let's break it down and see if I can't make the car better where we're losing a little bit of speed without that interfering with your happiness and what you do like in the car. And that's just all you can do as a team, but it's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, we talked data. That's exactly right. Like they're looking at overall lap time. If I'm C-Val's crew chief, I'm going to compare him to 12, who I think is the best. We'll see right here for Jones, a couple tenths off for Jones. And I'd say, all right, it's a little bit on entry. It's a little bit of this. Because Christopher can tell you, like, maybe I'm just not pushing there, maybe not. But I can tell you at certain tracks, I would worry about the lap time, the high-speed mile and a half. Look at the left front tire. I think we're going to see a little lock up over the bumps. Wow.
Yeah, a little bit.
It locks up when it bounces off the racetrack, for sure. But I'd be concerned if it was like Michigan or
Ryan Preece, I think, is going to be one to look out for qualifying. As I say that, he drops over 1/10 of a second off and turns 1 and 2. He was one of the quick cars of group number 1 of practice. That's why I was kind of alluding to that. But unless he has a substantial gain in 3 and 4, he's not going to come anywhere close to the Josh Berry lap time to get to the top of the speed chart. And for Ryan Preece, it'll be 5th. 29.601. On to Michael McDowell in the 71. And as My True TV on Hulu being a little bit behind what our live leaderboard is showing, it does look like Michael McDowell has just wrapped up his lap time of the 29.424 third for Michael McDowell. Yeah, I didn't have any notes prepared for today's stream, and I apologize for that. I was definitely underprepared when it came to the qualifying side of things today. I was out late last night. I should have jumped on it earlier in the week rather than the ability to do it later into the weekend like I usually do. I spend my Fridays and into Saturday mornings before practice and qualifying getting all the notes I need to, but I was gone all day yesterday and just slipped behind me. So that's why you've heard a lot of the TV broadcast. Here's an interview with Bubba Wallace. He's standing with Dylan Welsh.
Hey, so what more do you need from your car to keep up with him?
Well, I gotta tell him, we flew together, so if he wants to, keep this thing tidy, then settle for second. Find his only home. I feel good about our McDonald's Camry. This place is tricky to find the right feel, the balance, to feel good and have speed. So I think we're close. We got to massage a little bit, but all in all, it's a new round for the playoffs. We're in it, and excited to see what we got.
A strong first round of the playoffs for Bubba, trying to keep it going here in New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's been a great, not even just the playoffs for Bubba, really the last 2.5 months or so since that win at Indy middle of July. That team has been clicking on all cylinders, and they legitimately look like one of the best 8 teams in the Cup Series since then. And to try to make your way into the round of 8 of the playoffs, got to keep that consistency up for another 3 races. And he is going to a place at Kansas where he has won out in the NASCAR Cup Series with this next-gen car just a couple of years ago. So this is a good round for him leading up to the Roval. Kyle Busch on the racetrack following a Justin Haley qualifying effort. Haley 5th with a 29.559. And Kyle Busch not going to put himself up into the top 5. 7th for Busch with a 29.614. Up after Busch will be Chris Buescher in 19th, but that will be after the commercial break that they are currently going to on True TV. So Chris Buescher, followed by Ty Gibbs, Carson Hocevar, Zane Smith, Alex Bowman will be the next 5. Also on the other side of the commercial break after Bowman will be Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, and Austin Cindric. There will be a commercial break. It's after John and Nemechek. I got a little bit ahead of myself. Nemechek just finishing up his qualifying lap. 29.756 for John Hunter. 11th is where that will slate him out of 18. So Josh Berry, who was a Ford driver to put down a qualifying lap, still has the top time. We are now halfway through qualifying. But all the playoff drivers still have to go of the 12 that remain. A few other fast cars like an Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher, Ty Gibbs still to go. So it's going to be very competitive, I think, for Josh Berry to try to hold on, but we'll see what he can do. We'll take our final break of the stream. You're listening live on KRC. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. Try to get to 50 on stream. We're currently only on 29. Hit the subscribe button as well. We were only 5 subs shy coming into this stream of 6,600 on the channel. Now we're only 3 shy. So 3 subs shy. If you are not subscribed, we do have live commentary every NASCAR race weekend, Truck Xfinity, Cup Racing, Cup Practice, and Qualifying, as well as Cup races. For any race I don't go to in person, and the races I do go to in person, like last week at Bristol, race highlights from the grandstands. Appreciate everybody that did tune in earlier in the week and check those out for the Xfinity and Cup races last week. And I got one more race I'm going to yet this year. I'm going to Phoenix at the end of the season for the championship race weekend. And I'll be there for the Truck Xfinity Cup races Friday through Sunday. So there will be more of that later in the year. So as far as live commentary weekends go, after this week, we only got 5 weeks left together on the channel until 2026. We'll have NASCAR 25 content through the off season as well. And obviously when that releases next month. But just keep a lookout for it. Back on the qualifying side of things. So the lap time to beat for Josh Berry is still that 29.354, 129.754 mile per hour average. Not a bad lap. Chris Buescher rolling off. His teammate Ryan Preece did not put together as good of a lap as I thought he was going to. Preece 6th out of 18. As for Chris Buescher, he's going to be a little bit better than Preece. 29.488. Here's Sky Larson.
Whether he's speed or not, so I don't, you can kind of shift your corner around a little bit. I just don't know what to do right now, so just trying to watch, to learn, and hopefully execute a good lap.
All right, Kyle's going to take a look at Chris Buescher and Ty Gibbs here coming up too to see what the best way to get around here is.
So a couple things there. Shift.
Larson going to be heading into his race car shortly for his qualifying lap in the later portion of the session. So as that interview was going on, that was actually as Buescher was finishing his lap. Wait to see where Ty Gibbs puts up. Again, JGR's been very quick at New Hampshire, so I expect Gibbs to have a pretty solid qualifying lap. 29.477 for Gibbs, and he also is 5th. The new 5th, though, obviously ahead of Buescher, who was just before him. Top 4 spots hanging on. And Josh Berry. I mean, what a miraculous qualifying effort that would be for Berry if he's able to get himself on the pole, despite being only the 4th car out on the track for qualifying. Didn't realize how strong that lap was until many others have gone after him. And SVG also still up there in 2nd, only about half a second back. That bump is so massive getting into turn 3 in the braking zone. That's what ended up costing Gibbs on his lap a little bit ago. Carson Hocevar in the 77. Testing the lap time of Josh Berry, but he's not going to get to the top. It'll be 2nd for Hocevar, 29.398. And that was the 2nd lap time of a sub 29.4. Hocevar's been a pretty solid qualifier in his young NASCAR Cup Series career. He's got several front row starts, including a few of them this season. We got out a little bit too far wide through turns 1 and 2. That could have made all the difference because it looked like he settled in more in 3 and 4. On to Zane Smith for Front Row Motorsports. Be the last of the 3 front row cars to qualify. His teammates Ty Gilliland, Noah Gragson, 18th and 21st. Last and 3rd to last, 29.547 for Smith, much better than his teammates. 8th right now, 29.547. Following Smith will be Alex Bowman in the 48, who was eliminated from the playoffs a week ago at Bristol. At valiant effort, led laps in the race at various times. Strategy did not fall their way with the cautions and having the early spin and falling behind a set on tires. Coming back to bite them. Better effort, though, last week than what they had the 2 weeks before that. And even though they're eliminated from the postseason, they could still finish as high as 5th in the regular season standings if they can get some consistent runs here for the final 7 races of the year. Bowman third on his lap, 29.402. A little less than 0.05 of a second off of Berry. They're getting closer. I don't think the 21's going to hold on, but I don't think there's going to be many that are going to beat that time either. On to Brad Keselowski in the 6. As Josh Berry watches on. 29.5 flat for Keselowski. That's not going to do it either. Ninth for Brad. 1 spot behind his teammate Buescher. And about 3 spots ahead of his other teammate Ryan Preece. I feel like week after week with these qualifying efforts, more often than not, you see 2 to 3 of the teammates just so close to one another. It's like the whole team entirely as a whole hits it, or they don't. There's usually not a lot of separation between the two. Really just shows the quality of the next-gen car from driver to driver as much as it is just how much these teams are just so in sync with one another within the same shop with sharing setups and sharing similar driving styles. Really, they're just trying to all drive the car at the same particular fashion, just better than everybody else around them. Chase Elliott, the number 9, is now on track. Not a great qualifying effort for Elliott. 16th with a 29.659. So not a good lap at all for Chase. Hendrick Motorsports has not won at New Hampshire since Casey Kane in 2012. So not only it's been a long time since the organization's last win here, but not a good qualifying effort for Elliott, who comes into this weekend only 5 points above the cut line. Only 1 point above is the guy now on track, Bubba Wallace, in the 23. McDonald's Toyota Camry. Decent lap by Wallace, but not great, all things considered. 29.485, 8th quickest for Bubba. We've only had a couple of playoff drivers qualify, but last weekend was really the first that we saw them qualify all over the leaderboard, and we're kind of seeing that same thing again here today as well. I'm still shocked that Berry, as early as he went out in qualifying, was able to put down as great of a lap as he did, and it's just still holding compared to everybody else. Austin Cindric, who's now on the racetrack, trying to top his affiliated teammate, and he's not going to get it done either. Not a great lap for Cindric, 29.592. He's one of the 4 drivers below the cutoff line to begin the round of 12, so doesn't need to have a poor qualifying run or just a run in general. He's going to need all the stage points he can get these next 3 weeks. So again, Cindric 13th with a 29.592. 9 drivers to qualify to try to take down Josh Berry. When Berry qualified, he had 32 drivers that had to go after him, and he's held on this far. He's got a lot of the best that the sport has to offer in the year 2025 still to come. The next couple huge examples of that, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin. Then after Hamlin will be Ross Chastain, Tyler Reddick, and William Byron. Final 4 will be Briscoe, Logano, Blaney, and Bell. Bell, the defending winner of this race. Getting down to it. Soon as qualifying is done, you'll get to listen to interviews from both of the front row starters for tomorrow's race, and then we'll go over the rest of the starting lineup as follows following that. for the NASCAR Cup Series event, the Mobil 1 301 at New Hampshire. Gotta get up for a quick second. I don't know what's going up with my phone battery, but it has drained a lot during the course of this stream. After the truck race, it was down to like 40-something%. Now it's down to 2 over the course of an hour and a half. I do have YouTube running on my phone the whole time. That's how I'm able to keep track of the chat during these live commentary streams. Pre-order NASCAR 25. Awesome. Awesome. Great to hear. I have as well. Gonna be a fun one. Have a good time in Phoenix? I definitely will. I'll worry about it when the time comes. In the meantime, make sure I'm having a good time with you guys every weekend up until then. Josh Berry on standby after finishing last in the 3 races of the last round, eliminating him early from the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. How about the very next weekend to get yourself on the pole? I mean, just what a turn of events this sport has. So you can finish last 3 races in a row, and you come out the next weekend and you're on the pole. So on to Kyle Larson's qualifying lap, and the number 5 for Hendrick Motorsports, his teammate Chase Elliott outside the top 15. He's currently 18th and still with 9 to go. I doubt that he's going to hold for a top 20 spot. Larson had a bit of a wiggle through turns 1 and 2. That cost him quite a bit of time. Down into 3 and 4, didn't bounce too heavily off of the bump on the entry to 3 like some other drivers have in the qualifying effort. 29.496 for Larson. He is currently 10th. Following Larson, on to Denny Hamlin in the 11. And Denny Hamlin not going to get the pole time either from Josh Berry. 29.409 for Hamlin, 5th place. Solid, but not good enough for the top spot. I mean, even those front 4 positions, they have just, I mean, they've withstood the test of time here for a while. They all qualified in the first half of this qualifying session. I guess Bowman was technically in the back half, but obviously not of the playoff drivers. SVG was pretty early in the run. He was second for a while before Hocevar Bowman at least knocked him down just a bit. Ross Chastain jumping up to 4th with a 29.405. There you have it. Great lap by Chastain. Not good enough for the pole, but it was still great. We're down to 6. And on track currently is Tyler Reddick in the 45 for 2311 Racing. Still in search for his first win of the season. He is the only driver in the round of 12 of the playoffs that does not have a win on the 2025 year. Fast qualifying lap, though, for Reddick. That's going to jump him up to the front row. He can't take down Berry for the top spot, but it was awfully close. 29.356, 2 1,000ths of a second. The difference between Josh Berry and Tyler Reddick. Again, Reddick P2. And that was the closest we've seen to anybody trying to take down Berry's. Reddick hold on for a front row starting spot. William Byron was the fastest in practice overall, so this is going to be a tough one to hang on for. The Hendrick Chevys have not qualified well for the most part. Bowman's up in 3rd, but the playoff drivers of Elliott and Larson both outside the top 10. 30.254. Sorry, that was not the right lap time. 29.373. It disappeared on me quickly. Third for Byron, another close one within a couple hundredths of a second to the 21 and the 45. Wow. Briscoe, Logano, Blaney, Bell are the final four. Briscoe up next. Most front row starts of any driver this season. Most poles of any driver in the 2025 season. 29.511 for Briscoe. And that is not going to be a great lap. That's second week in a row. Briscoe's qualified mid-pack. 16th for the 19 team. So not able to keep up with a Toyota counterpart of Reddick, who is still second. Logano, Blaney, Bell. Now, this is going to be interesting because you got the defending winner, Christopher Bell, going last, and two Penske Fords that are in-house affiliates with the Wood Brothers Ford that's on the front row. Blaney had the best long-run speed of anybody, bar none, in practice. Berry had the best long-run speed of anybody in Group 1 of practice. Blaney went out in Group 2. Looking at the lap for Joey Logano, 29.159. What a lap by Logano, almost 2/10 faster than Berry and Reddick. That's unbelievable. Just under 2/10 quicker. As long as Berry's lap was holding up, with only two drivers to go, that is going to be very tough to beat with the 22 now out in front. And they were really struggling for speed in practice compared to that of their teammate Ryan Blaney. But that's going to help things on Sunday, especially with the shorter first stage for Joey Logano if he can get the pole. What a lap. 130.622 mile per hour average. That was almost a full mile per hour average faster than the next driver. 29.329 fast lap by Ryan Blaney, but only good enough for second. So Ryan Blaney second, barely takes down Berry. And it took two Penske Fords to take down the affiliated Wood Brothers Ford. So now both Berry and Reddick are off of the front row. Berry will hold on at least for row 2. And again, our final driver, Christopher Bell, wrapping things up. It's going to be the second week in a row Ryan Blaney's had a front row start. He did at Bristol last week, led quite a few laps, won a stage, and in fact had 19 stage points. Him and Ty Gibbs the most of any driver. Anyway, on to Bell, who was the winner of that said race. Trying to go back-to-back in Loudon. He won 3 races in a row earlier this season. One coming off of a win before that. $29.527 for Christopher Bell. That is going to put him mid-pack here. That was not a great lap. 19th for Christopher Bell. I mean, about as smack dab in the middle as you could get. So the starting lineup for this weekend's race, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney on the front row. Joey Logano on the pole. Blaney will be starting second. Our pole time was a 29.159 and an average speed of 130.622 miles per hour. We'll go over the rest of the starting lineup once we get those interviews from Logano and Blaney first, just so you don't miss those. So the second to last and third to last drivers in qualifying will take over the front row. It's a big wiggle off turn 4 on the lap by Bell, which really did not help him.
And look at J-Lo.
Hometown for Joey Logano to get the pole, too. He's actually getting some cheers.
The year. Dillon, you're on the scene.
We are, and he is giving much deserved congratulations to everybody. Man, that was a lap. Where did that come from?
I got a great group of guys. Paul knows how to help me get the car good where it needs to be. The guys do a good job with getting the show Penske Mustang fast. And man, it's just a home track. Feels so good to run well here. And a good starting spot, obviously. In the playoffs matter the most right now. So hopefully we're able to capitalize tomorrow. We got a good pit stall, if nothing else.
We've talked a lot about the test that the 22 team did and how it's impacted all of Team Penske, but where do you feel like it particularly helped you the most today and maybe for tomorrow too?
I mean, you know, you just get more laps, right? I mean, these days you don't get practice anymore. Hey, bud. You know, you don't get practice anymore. So anytime you can make laps, it's great. So you can kind of use that to your advantage. And you know, we had 2 days of just making a lot of laps. As a driver, that's helpful as much as the team, right? So you know, glad we capitalized that and for qualifying, like I said. And we got a little bit of work to do in race show. We're not far off, so I think we could tune it in.
All right, 22, and the rest of Team Penske really, really fast. Joey Logano leading the field to green tomorrow, Mamba.
Yeah, you're talking about the rest of Team Penske. Team Penske quasi with the Wood brothers over here. Josh Berry, Josh, we and you sat here for like 20 cars, and we just couldn't believe that you were able to hold on. You went out fourth. Where did all that speed come from?
Yeah, I felt like we had a really good practice. I thought our car was really solid there, and yeah, guys did a good job in qualifying. Definitely surprised they held on as long as they did as early as we went. So just was really solid lap, and yeah, starting third. It's obviously a great starting spot for us. It's been a tough couple weeks, and yeah, these guys are working really hard. And just want to thank everybody at Wood Brothers and Team Penske and Motorcraft, Quick Lane, Hero, Dex, all of our partners, everybody at Ford. We're gonna keep after it. Another strong showing for us again in these playoffs, and we just need some fate to go our way tomorrow and just have a solid day and see what happens.
We all expect you to be fast on these short tracks and Team Penske on the flat tracks especially. What's it going to take to win tomorrow?
Yeah, I feel like we have the cars to do it. You know, I think all of our cars look really strong in practice, and yeah, it's going to be a track position race. Obviously, it's important to have that, and I feel like we had really good long run speed too. So yeah, it's just we're a long way from the end of the races, man. I've lived it the last 3 weeks of what can happen, and just so proud of these guys for digging each and every week and showing up and just keep bringing fast cars. That's all you can do. And like I said, I think we have another one, so hopefully we make it interesting tomorrow.
Josh Berry getting that swagger back, Dillon Welch.
And Ryan Blaney makes it a Team Penske front row sweep. So car obviously has short run speed, has long run speed too. So how confident are you for tomorrow?
Yeah, I feel good for tomorrow. I was happy with our race run in practice. Was fairly happy about our lap at qualifying. I thought it was. I didn't know what Joey ran. He went out right in front of me, and I knew what Josh ran. I knew what I had to beat. And I thought I was close until I looked at the time. And I'm 10th and a half off of Joey. What a heck of a lap by that group and him. So, but yeah, really cool. I mean, Penske front row, you know, Josh right there in third. I think the 2 would have been up there if he didn't slip off 4. So yeah, appreciate everybody for bringing fast cars all around this weekend. Hopefully we can put it all together tomorrow. But yeah, appreciate Menards, Littman, Ford, Chase engines, all that stuff, and appreciate everybody coming out and hanging out with us today a little bit. Beautiful weekend, and hopefully it can be a cooler weekend tomorrow.
When the whole team is as good as you guys are, does that make it easier because it's kind of high tides raise all ships, or harder because everybody's kind of guarded in a little more?
Hey, if everyone's running good, that's great. You know, when the whole organization's running well, that's just a huge testament of the hard work that everybody's put in our team and at our race shops, folks who travel. Like, it's a huge statement when all of your cars can be competitive and be really fast. So, yeah, it's huge props to them. You know, the 22 team was able to come up here and test about a month ago, and we thought that was really productive. And it's nice that that's kind of carried over to the race weekend, that we were able to learn some things, you know, at that test from those guys. So, yeah, good weekend starting off, and hopefully it stays that way for the whole group.
Big statement for sure. Ryan Blaney starts second tomorrow.
So, Jeff, from the category of Joe Gibbs Racing.
All right, now we'll go through the starting lineup. Got interviews from both the front row starters, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, and as well from the third place starter, Josh Berry. So Logano, Blaney front row, and Joey Logano pole for this weekend. Again, a 29.159 second lap time, 130.622 mile per hour average on that lap. Blaney, longest run speed in practice, better of any driver. Josh Berry, pretty good in the long run as well, and he has a great qualifying effort to go with it. Berry, anything better than last place will be better than the last 3 races for him. Row 2 is where Berry is at, and then Tyler Reddick in second. Great qualifying run for him as well. Row 3 will be William Byron and Carson Hocevar. Alex Bowman, Ross Chastain, row 4, rounding out the top 10. Denny Hamlin and Shane Van Gisbergen with a top 10 starting spot. Michael McDowell, AJ Allmendinger in row 6. Ty Gibbs and Bubba Wallace for the 2 Toyotas in row 7. Chris Buescher, Kyle Larson, row 8. Brad Keselowski, Chase Briscoe, row 9. Christopher Bell, Zane Smith rounding out the top half of the field, row 10 for them. Row 11, Justin Haley, Austin Cindric. Row number 12 will be Ryan Preece and Kyle Busch. Riley Herbst, Derek Jones, row 13. Then row 14, Chase Elliott, Austin Dillon. Behind them in row 15, John Hunter Nemechek and Ty Dillon. Cole Custer, Daniel Suarez, row 16. Row 17, Noah Gragson, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And Cody Ware, Todd Gillen, row 18. And that will round out the 36-car field. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for today's live commentary for both the Craftsman Truck Race and practice of qualifying for the NASCAR Cup Series. Will be live tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Eastern for the NASCAR Cup Series pre-race leading into the full flag-to-flag coverage of the Mobil 1 301 from New Hampshire, the round of 12 opener for the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Congrats to Corey Heim winning the truck race again earlier today. And congratulations as well, obviously, to Joey Logano for qualifying on the pole for tomorrow's race at his home track here in New Hampshire. See you guys tomorrow afternoon. Have a good rest of your Saturday.